Stitch, and I'm the host of the Wise Owl Knits Fibercast. This is Purl 20. I've done 20 episodes. Can you believe it? I can't. My dog Barley is right next to me, jumping like he wants to eat. As always, no matter what time I record, he wants to eat. Anyway, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch. I am Wise Owl Knits on the World Wide Web, and that's where you can find all of my patterns. I'm also Wise Owl Knits on Instagram with 2 S's, Wise Owl Knits on YouTube and Facebook and Pinterest and Etsy. I don't have all my patterns on Etsy, but I do have some patterns over there. If you like what you see today, please leave a comment, click the like button, click the bell to be notified, and subscribe. Do all the things, you know all the things to do. But as I said, I really just appreciate you taking the time to watch today. And let's get on with the Fibercast. We'll start with what I'm wearing. This is my newest design, which you have seen in the background on many recent episodes. This is probably a size smaller than I would normally wear. The sleeves fit me, but they're fairly fitted, and I would rather have them a little looser. So this is the very smallest size in my spread of sizes for the pattern. But it does fit, and I am wearing it today, and I'll talk more about that later. Reveal the name for the design. I got so many good comments and so many good suggestions, so we'll talk about those in the design section. So we'll move on to finished items. Barley, come here. Barley, sit. Lay down. Okay, be good. So the things that I have finished, I've actually got a couple of things today. The first is the blanket that I finished for my friend Cindy, who passed away 2 years ago, Christmas now, so I need to get this off to her daughter-in-law. And this is a blanket that she had started. Her daughter-in-law, Alex, bought a kit that was really for crochet, and it had the 3 colors in it. And rather than crocheting, which Cindy didn't enjoy as much, and I'm not even sure if she knew how to crochet, but she definitely knew how to knit. She just started making squares in different colors and stitch patterns to sew them all together, just like the crochet blanket would have had. So she had probably 8 or 9 squares done, and I completed the rest. It's 4 by 4, so it's not super large, and I crocheted around the edge to give it just a little more finished look. So I've got that all done, and I'm going to get that to Cindy's husband. I would have gotten it to him this weekend, but I wanted to show it on the podcast before I gave it away. It's always hard to get a good picture of a blanket, so I'd rather show that in person. I've also finished a little baby hat, and it's an IU hat, Indiana University, and I will put a picture of that right there. It is for a co-worker of my husband, and big IU fan, has a lot of IU stuff in his office. So when they had a little baby, they had a little baby girl, Bob asked me if I could make her an IU hat, and I whipped it out last weekend to his amazement. And I've started actually another one for my little great nephew David, and his mom is she went to IUPUI, but her degree is from IU also. So I will make David a little hat also. Since he's a boy, I'm not going to put a pom-pom on his. The little girl that from my husband's co-worker, I thought a pom-pom is really cute for a little girl, so I added that. The only other thing that I finished is a cowl that started off as a hat, and I realized it was just definitely too big for me. It's 2-color brioche. It was my 2-color brioche hat, and I started it at the Knitty McPurly retreat. And I think I started it on, I used DK weight yarn, but I started it on size 6 needles, and I probably normally for that hat would have used size 5 or even size 4. I always use smaller needles on brioche because I tend to be really loose, and I think almost everybody tends to be looser with brioche than just regular knitting. I'm guessing I just either wasn't paying attention, which certainly could be, or I didn't have the right needles with me and just started it on what I had. But I think this is actually a pretty cute little cowl. And I did just regular 2-color brioche on most of it, and then I did this kind of vining pattern at the scoot forward at the bottom, which it's the bottom as I am wearing it, but it was the top as I was knitting it. So I've got a nice, warm, thick, cozy cowl to wear this winter. I may gift it to someone, or I may keep it myself. So anyway, I doubt that I'll write up a pattern for that, but I may use this stitch pattern on a shawl. Kind of really, it's simple, but still very interesting. So we'll see what becomes of that. Sometimes that's the best way to work on your designs, is just to play around, not really have a plan, and just do what you want to do and use your imagination, and maybe pull that idea back out later when working on a design. So those are the 3 things that I finished. I'm working on let me grab this here, it's got lots of balls of yarn. I'm working on another Wildflower, and I am writing some other sizes for that pattern for kids up to teens in the preparation for working or doing a knit along this spring on Wildflower. So I'd like to have the children's sizes, infants and children's and teens, along with the adult version. This I'm using mostly not Knitty McPurly, mostly Mystery Mouse yarns. I had a mini set called the Brown Bear set, so all of the colors except for the pink are from Mystery Mouse. So I've got a blue, a yellowish gold, a green, and a purple. So just getting started on it, but I think it's going to be super cute. And I'm looking forward to continuing to work on that. I will talk more about the knit along as we move through the podcast. But that is what I'm working on right now. And the only other thing that I'm working on is the second baby hat in red and white for Indiana University. I have purchased a little bit of yarn lately, not much, but just a little bit, so I'll share that with you too. I'm still participating in the Sock Adventure subscription from Sweet Mountain Crafts, and this is the September sock set, and it's called Garden Harvest. So we've got the two skeins, the big skein and the mini skein of the Scree sock, which is 80% merino, 20% nylon. Lovely yarn. And Karista always packs some nice things with it. She always gives a card telling about the sock set and everything that's included. And she also always includes a story about each yarn. So this story was about a garden. And I won't read the story, but it's always special. So if you subscribe, you'll get that. And she always sticks some other little goodies in. So these are yarn clips or hair clips, really the same thing, but to keep your yarn secure on your ball when you're not working on it. And some tea and a lovely note card. So next time I have to send a nice note to somebody, I'll have this beautiful card with a cone flower to send my special message. So thanks, Carista. These are always lovely. Right now I'm just collecting them. I need to start knitting some socks or using them for some designs. And I've got a lot that are really complementary, so it could well be in some color work or a shawl or some type of a design in times to come. The other thing that I got, I was of course watching Knitty McPurly like I do every Sunday, and she has a new fuzzy yarn called Dresden DK, and it is baby Surrey alpaca, and it kind of, when you look at it, almost looks like a thick and thin yarn. I haven't swatched with it or done anything with it yet, so I'm not sure what it's going to become. She has a one skein pattern that I believe is a free pattern for a cowl that's trapezoid shaped, so I may just make that just to see what the yarn does and see what I like about it, or I might just start swatching with it and let it become something else. So not sure about that so far, but it's in the color Beryl, which as you can see matches the furniture, one of the colors that I really love. I've always said that green, not always, but for the last years I've said that green was my favorite color, but I seem to have a lot of this turquoise, right, Anne? Anne Pinkova mentioned that if she ever sees this color, she thinks of me. There must be a good reason for that. I also got from Knitty McPurly some little hand balm, and it smells so lovely. The name of it is, I think it's red flannel. Not gray flannel, but red flannel. And it smells so much like fall. So I'm sure I will be using a lot of that. I need to use some right now. These are, you can tell it's getting a little bit cooler out because our skin is getting drier, and it's just that time of year. But it'll be such a pleasure to have some dry skin so I can use my lovely hand balm. Back to my designs. This sweater, I had been just kind of stewing about what to call it, and I had the name binary in my head because it was 1x1 rib, so two color, not rib, but 1x1 color work, so using two colors at a time and just alternating every stitch. And just with the, I don't know, everything that is going on in the world right now, I felt like that word gave some connotations that I really wasn't anxious to use in the name of a sweater. So I asked for ideas, and I got tons of really good ideas, and some of which had already been used in a lot of sweaters, so that unfortunately, even though they're great suggestions, kind of eliminates that name because you don't want your design to get mixed up with somebody else. So some of the suggestions that I got were pathways, straight and narrow, radio frequency, which I can definitely see, sound waves, domino effect. I really kind of like that one a lot. And I might do something later on where the dominoes are falling. Mine were all standing up, or just maybe some of them are slightly leaning, but nothing has fallen down. Color duet, that was a good one. Neil from Black Magazine said something about, keeping time while you're in prison. And so that made me think hash marks, but hash mark is used, or hashtag is used all the time in social media, so I didn't want to use that. Barcode or scanning in. I think scanning in was from Ann Pinkova. What I settled on was keeping time. So this will, from now on, be known as keeping time sweater, the keeping time sweater. Keeping time pullover, perhaps. Once I actually get the pattern all the way written, I'll settle on something exact, but it will have keeping time in the name. I am almost done with the pattern writing. I've done all the yoke, I've split for the sleeves and got all the way down to the hem. So I just need to continue writing the sleeves, which are basically the same stitch pattern as the body, just with a few decreases along the way. So I hope to have that off to the tech editor either later on this afternoon or tomorrow. And I will be, as soon as I send that off to her, I will also send out a call for test knitters. And I've got a good list of potential test knitters, and I generally let anyone who wants to test go ahead and test. It seems like of the people, just anecdotally, of the people that sign up to test knit, probably half of them actually do it. A few of them get it done in the allotted time period. Many of the others still get it done, but it may get done afterwards, which it's not really a big deal to me. As long as a few people finish it and people get started or get through the yoke, then I think that's kind of half the battle, to know that, that it fits up here, that it's got the right amount of inches between the collar and where you split for the sleeves. If you can make it through those directions, the rest of it is basically knitting even. So as long as people get part way and through the critical parts, that's usually good enough for me. And some people, things happen, things are going on in their lives, and I do appreciate that. If you say you're going to test knit and you can't for some reason, just send me a note and let me know what's going on, so just so that I know and I'm not wondering. But I do totally understand that things come up, stuff happens, and sometimes you can't keep a commitment that you were intending on. It's not a big deal. And I totally understand, because I've been in that position myself where I'd really like to do something for someone, but the circumstances in my life just don't allow that to happen right now. So all is good. So anyway, the call for test knitters should be going out yet this week, hopefully within just a couple of days. And then the pattern is usually in the tech editing part of the process, maybe a week or 2 weeks. There's always some going back and forth, and my tech editor will go over everything and send me her suggestions for changes or modifications. and then I'll go over that and send it back to her, sometimes doing everything that she suggested, sometimes doing part of the things that she suggested. But we'll go back and forth. I'll send it back to her, she'll look at it again and come back with some other things. You know, it's hard to catch I try not to make typos, but I definitely make typos, or you know, leave out a space or put in 2 spaces, and you know, just little things like that make the pattern more polished and professional, and I want it to be as perfect as it can be. I know things are never 100% perfect, but we do our best. I do my best, and I appreciate my tech editor helping me make it as good as I can. So once the tech editing is done, then the testers can get started, and I'll be able to give them a pattern that's pretty darn good, and they'll probably find a couple of things or just have questions on the way things are presented, which then will make me rethink how I state an instruction. Maybe there's another way or more than one way that I can say something. And a lot of times I do put instructions in a couple of different ways, because one thing may click with one person and the other instruction may click with somebody else. So hearing things twice or hearing things in 2 different ways a lot of times is a good thing, and it, you know, can make the bell go off in your head and understand what is supposed to be happening. Not that anything is super hard in this one, it's just color work and increasing, and then splitting for sleeves and knitting the rest of the way. So, keeping time. That's my next little pattern, Barley. I'm not ready to feed you yet. I just got up so I could show my sweater. Come here, Barley. Okay. I don't want him to jump up because he'll either snag my sweater or get hair all over the chair. But he is sitting right here by me and I'm petting him, and he's really cute. I'll have to show his picture. I'll stick that in at the end. We went camping this weekend, and I got some cute ones of him. We camped with probably about, I don't know, 40 or 45 people on Saturday night, and almost every family had at least 1 dog. Some of the families had 2 dogs. So it was dog heaven. We were camping down in Brown County, which is south of Indianapolis, probably about an hour south of here, on my sister's property, and had a great big campfire, had lots of good food. It sprinkled a little bit a couple of times, but by and large it was a beautiful fall weekend. The trees were just starting to change, and it was a little bit overcast, but it's always so fun to just be out in nature and enjoying the outdoors and being with good friends and family. One of my favorite things. If I could camp all the time, well, I don't know if I'd want to camp all the time, but I do love camping, and I like to do it whenever we get the chance. So anyway, I've got some pictures of Barley and our big fire, so I'll stick those in at the end for you. All right, well, the only other thing that I have is no, buddy, no, sit. He's hopping like a hyena now. Sit. Sit. Come here. Come here. Come here. Here, you want to jump up? Come on, up here. There he is. Yes, you're a good boy. Let's sit down. Sit. Down. Okay, I'm going to take a short hiatus just to calm him down. I'm back, and Barley is chewing on a bone right now, so that should keep him occupied for just a little while. The other thing that I have design-wise is I've got a couple of knit-alongs coming along, nothing right now, but in the future, but I just wanted to let you know about them so that you can plan accordingly and hopefully participate. The first one will be for the Solomon Poncho. Show it right there. And this is a very cable heavy poncho, but basically it's just a large rectangle that's knit from one end to the other and then sewn up on the side, and then adding a collar. So because it is a lot of knitting, I don't want to start it before Christmas. So this knit along will begin on December 26th and will go through March 31st. And I will put more information out about it later, but basically I will have a form that everyone who wants to participate will fill out so that I can get a list of participants. And then once you finish, in order to be in the draw for prizes, then I'm going to have you fill out another form along with a picture of your finished items. I also will encourage you to post pictures on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll have a group on my website and a Telegram group, so whatever floats your boat, wherever you like to participate, you can. But having everybody fill out the form at the end with the picture will help me consolidate the list of participants and the people that are eligible for prizes, so I don't have to look 3 or 4 different places to draw out some winners. So I'll get some of my Yarny friends to contribute some prizes. I'll have patterns as prizes too, and should just be a fun knit along for the Solomon Poncho. Then I'm going to have another knit along this spring, and this one will start the beginning of March, and it will be for the Wildflower. And as you know, there's a picture of the Wildflower. It's a color work sweater, pullover, short sleeve. It is fingering weight, but it's pretty quick to knit. Great for mini skeins, great for scraps, but I'm also going to have Holly from Mystery Mouse Yarns work up a few kits for me, and Susan from Delightful Works is going to make a few different bags for the knit along too. So the 3 of us will collaborate and run the knit along, and it should be really fun. The pattern right now is just in adult sizes, but as I said earlier in the podcast, I am writing it in a modified version for infants to mid-teenage years. So there should be a size for everyone in your life, because I'm adding actually one size to the adult version too, because I think the smallest size right now is a finished bust size of 36, and I'm smaller than that, but I like to have a bit of ease, so I'm going to have another size that's I think going to be probably 32 or 33 inches finished size. So that's good for a lot of teenagers also. And the second pattern will go up until that point. So that is going to be next March. It'll be a shorter time period because it's much less knitting than the Solomon Poncho. But so it'll probably go to mid-April. So 2 fun knit-alongs coming up. Just put those on in your mind, on your back burner. Write it on your calendar if you really love knit-alongs. But I hope you will join us for those, because I think they're going to be really fun. it's always nice to kind of knit along with other people and see all the different versions that people do. It's really kind of incredible. There are also a lot of knit-alongs going on right now, which is one reason I didn't want to do anything right now. Fall is the season for knit-alongs. Of course, there is the West Knits shawl knit-along that's had a bit of controversy, which is all kind of silly this year. There's a puritanical fun run where you have to knit with black yarn, and that's from the politically incorrect knitters. I'm pretty sure Tabitha at Murder Knits is having a knit along right now too, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that one. I should have looked before, and I'll figure that out, and I'll put that in the show notes if it is indeed going on. So there's a lot of different knit-alongs happening, and many times you can double dip and do something for one and enter it in more than one knit-along, and hopefully win a few prizes. Darn it, I forgot one thing. Okay. Now we'll move on to a giveaway. I have a giveaway, and it is the Hold Your Knitting Close book, written by Sue Mullins Witkin, and it's about Paula Emmons Fuseli. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I always kind of mess that up, but Paula is Knitting Pipeline, the Knitting Pipeline podcast, and Paula died from ovarian cancer a few years ago. And this book has been put out by Sue about Paula's, really her whole life, but a lot of it is her knitting life. And Sue had asked me to contribute something for the book, and I just wrote a short little paragraph and sent in a couple of pictures, which are included in the book. And when she was finished with the book, and it took her, I think she thought it was going to take her a couple of months, but she spent a lot of time doing this, and you can tell that she spent a lot of time. When it was done, she had offered to just send me a book because I had contributed, and I knew it was a big, long labor of love for her that she devoted a lot of time to, and I didn't feel like I should just take a book without paying for it, because if she did that for everybody that was in it, that's a lot of cost that I didn't feel like she should have to bear all on her own. So I paid for my book, and then I got a message from her on Instagram saying, hey, I'm sending you another book, and I've inscribed it for you, and I just wanted to thank you for mentioning the book on your podcast and sharing it on Instagram a lot. So she did send me a book, and included with it was this card, and the card was actually designed in honor of Paula too, and the front of it says, knitting, when you hear those needles clicking and see the yarn skimming, someone is relaxing into their beautiful labor of love. And so she wrote me a nice note inside. I will save that. And then she sent me the book with an inscription from her. So that was super, super nice. So I have 2 books now. I'm going to give one away. And what I ask is that you leave a comment mentioning Paula, whether you've seen Knitting Pipeline, not seen because it was mostly, at the end there were some YouTube versions, but it was mostly an audio podcast. But mentioning Paula and any memories that you have of her, or just any thoughts that you have. But put Paula's name in the comments, and I'll wait about 10 days. Today is October 16th. So I'll wait till October 26th and then I'll do a random draw for all the comments that mention Paula. And as long as I'm gonna limit it to United States residents. But as long as you live in the US and make a comment about Paula, then your name will go in and we'll get a winner in 10 days. Thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate it. As I said at the beginning, you can find me at Wise Owl Knits, Wise Owl Knits with 2 S's on Instagram. If you have any questions or want to email me, it's Cheryl@wiseowlknits.com, or you can click the contact us or contact me section on my website. It's pretty easy to find. Both of those come to my email, so I see both of them equally well. You can also message me on Instagram, and always happy to talk to knitters, and always happy to help if you have any issues or questions about my patterns. Thanks again. I'll see you soon. Bye.